Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Express for Tuesday, September the 22nd, 2009. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and Dave Hero here with you from our Milwaukee studios for the Pro Wrestling Report. Gentlemen, last week on an episode of PWR Express, a bit of discussion was spurred by an email. The question was, Hulk Hogan going to TNA, and what impact would he have if he were to do it? And I said that he built not only World Wrestling Entertainment, but he built WCW, made WCW a household name, and that would be the only benefit that he would have in going to TNA from his own standpoint, was then he could say if there was a wrestling company that existed while he was alive, he helped make it. So
make it or build
your
My
statement to that was that he didn't build or make WCW a household name. Dave Hero, you're obviously going to participate in the discussion. A lot of people have had a lot of very pointed opinions about this situation. I stand my ground. I believe without Hulk Hogan, WCW would not have gone anywhere near the heights that it reached and became a household name. And I do give you this. Several other people had a lot to do with that. But it was Hulk Hogan in 1994 coming over to WCW that made that company what it was. And even before that, I watched when it was the NWA. I watched when it was World Championship Wrestling before really being WCW. It was good, it was big, especially in the territories, but it was not anywhere near World Wrestling Entertainment. It only reached that point when Hulk Hogan joined the company.
You're killing me with the Hulk Hogan, man.
Dave Hero?
There's no question. If there is no Hulk Hogan, wrestling is nowhere near where it is today.
But that's not the question, though.
But he did build WCW. Because you know what, and there will be some people that will say no, it was the NWO. The NWO wouldn't be the NWO if Hulk Hogan wasn't involved. When he turned heel, that changed the whole demographic of WCW.
Man, I got to jump right in on that one.
All right, go ahead, jump.
No, and agree 100%.
When it was Sting and Ric Flair and Lex Luger and the Steiners in WCW, how often did they get on Jay Leno?
Right. No, the point,
Never.
the reason I wanted to jump in on you and agree with you is when Hulk Hogan turned heel and joined NWO, he made NWO.
Hulk Hogan, you can go to hell.
He made NWO what it is. How big of a group would just Hall and Nash have been if not for taking the biggest name in wrestling and turning him into a bad guy, making him spray paint his beard?
Hall and Nash would have been big stars in WCW.
They would have been main event players, but they wouldn't have been transcending the business itself.
Hulk Hogan, it just changes everything. I mean, he brings the merchandising, he brings the recognition. I mean, Ted Turner went out of his way to bring him in.
Sure, but to say, and this is, I think, where the dispute comes into play from where we started with Damian last week on our edition of Express. Hogan didn't make WCW. He took it to the next level.
He made it relevant.
Okay, but he didn't make WCW.
Well, the Crockett's made WCW.
But that was the question, and that's where the dispute.
The definition of make, as it pertains to that conversation, was he made it a household name, a popular entity. He made it the wrestling organization. If you look at how he made WWE, which was around for 20 years before he became a part of it, he did the same thing there. He made WWE. He made WCW.
Well, at the same time, though, Hogan and Vince worked very well together.
Oh, absolutely. But the public face,
right,
as far as who would get the credit for it.
Before Hulk Hogan took that ride down Disney, WCW was a Southern wrestling company.
Correct. That would have never had a chance.
You know, I mean, I remember times when WCW, before Hulk Hogan, when they would come to Milwaukee at the Eagles Club, they'd have 40 people there. And that, that's ridiculous. So no, if Hulk Hogan, if he were to decide to go to TNA, it'd be a big boost for TNA. Because there's still the wrestling fans out there that when they hear Hulk Hogan, they're going to tune in to watch.
You're right.
If Hulk Hogan didn't think...
They're not IWC fans, though, that's for sure.
I don't know about that.
That's a small sliver of the IWC.
There's a lot of those fans that are still Hulk Hogan fans.
Sure,
but they're older than 25, 26
right, they're
years
the
old.
30, 40-year-old fans that want to just get that quick pop again from seeing the guy that they grew up with, Hulk Hogan, on TV
My
again.
thing for Hulk Hogan is, and I know that a lot of the newer fans today don't like him because he can't do the moonsault.
Right, he can't do more than 5 moons again.
Hulk Hogan is the only guy that could just put his hand to his ear and get 30,000 people to pop. He didn't have to do, the finger, like what Austin had to do, or the catchphrase like The Rock. Even though both those guys made lots of money, Hulk Hogan, he just had the fans in the palm of his hand.
Yeah. And being the booker man that you are, you appreciate something
And
like
to
that.
this day, he still can, and we'll see what happens with the Hulkamania tour, which is going to be overseas.
But
and,
can he physically do anything? I mean, the
Well,
man's
somehow or
had some
another,
bad
he's working
hips.
matches with
You know
Flair.
what? All he's gonna do is they're gonna do a few spots with Flair, punch, big boot, drop an elbow. He's not doing the leg drop. His
Match was
back can't
delivered.
do it. You know, and that's what's gonna happen. The people that are going to the Hulkamania tour, they're not going to see great matches.
Correct.
They're going to say thank
But
you
they will
and
get
goodbye
great-
to
they
Hulk
will-
Hogan and Ric Flair.
They will get great matches, just not in the Hogan and Flair match. They'll
Right,
get it on the
one.
undercard.
I get one. So to sum this up, to put this situation to bed, so that the prosecution can rest, Dave Hero, did Hulk Hogan
Hulk,
make
man.
WCW?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Meathead, did Hulk Hogan make
Way
WCW?
better, thank you. If the definition of make is make it relevant, make it a national, international
Make
business,
it like he made WWE.
yes, he made WCW.
See, you just had to call me. I would have got this whole thing figured out for you.
We had to, because the one thing, again, as I just mentioned before, that was in dispute was what was the definition of make. That's all.
Even
it really
though
was.
you knew what he was saying. you
No,
just
I never
wanted
know
to
what
be-
he's saying. I
you
never
know.
know what he's saying. Why would you want to watch a show where two guys agree all day? You gotta have friction.
Okay.
Let's get to a couple of emails. Paul C. sends this one in. I was watching one of AJ Styles and Daniels matches, and I started thinking if you could watch a match between Jericho when he was undisputed champion, Daniels, and Styles, who do you think would win between those three at that time, back in 2005, I believe?
Chris Jericho.
Jericho was a lot. Well, AJ's still in his
Whoa,
physical
wait a
peak
minute.
right now.
Chris Jericho beat The Rock and Steve Austin on
Are
the
we
same
one
talking?
night.
Are we talking gimmick, or are we talking really?
Well, if you want to talk about a real fight, you know.
no, I'm not talking about a real
okay,
fight.
but
I'm
we're talking about wrestling storylines. And at
Okay.
that time, he beat Austin and The Rock in the same night.
Yeah, so it would have to be Jericho. You're right.
Yes.
Because at that point, who was AJ Styles and who was Christopher Daniels? Fallen Angel was in WCW, which had just become defunct. That was for you.
It was, did go out of business and was purchased by WWE in 2001. Next email comes from Ivan Barrera, who says, do you guys think we, the WCW fans, will ever see Goldberg and DDP in the WWE Hall of Fame?
No. Why?
I could see DDP down the road.
What did he do? I mean,
Well,
DDP
He's
had a
much
great
like-
run in
we went-
AWA.
Yeah.
He had a great run in AWA as a manager.
what did Coco Beware do?
You're right. It's there's precedent set. Damn it,
Yeah.
Dave.
We
Damn it.
last week went in depth on Teddy Long on PWR Primetime. Make sure you check that out if you haven't done so already. Another story similar to Teddy Long's is Diamond Dallas Page's. He did a lot, has done a lot in the wrestling business.
And he
I
started
think his
late.
star grew brighter than it actually should have, but he's
He
really
grew
got
brighter.
And he left on good terms.
Mhm.
He was a
was
company
glowing
guy.
brighter.
Yeah.
You know, Goldberg, I doubt it. Him and Vince did not get along. He hates
That's why.
wrestling right
That's
now.
why Goldberg got buried, and got the title stripped from him, and basically put off the just pasture until the Brock Lesnar get out of town match.
That
at
was the
WrestleMania
worst match
20.
I've ever seen in my entire life, and I was there live.
WrestleMania
Brock
20.
Lesnar versus
Yeah.
Bill Goldberg.
Mhm.
It was ridiculous.
It
Austin
had
was
crud
the
all
ref.
over it.
Yeah.
Only because everybody knew they were both leaving.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. And as you said last week, how the spoilers ruin the wrestling business.
Think about
or
it. You
change
had,
the wrestling
at
business.
that time, you had three of the biggest names in wrestling in one match, and it was terrible.
Yeah, black
Austin
type
as the
wrestlers.
ref, Lesnar and Goldberg.
The
Should've
black
been
type
great.
wrestlers.
Should have been great. Could have been one of those mid-level matches that is actually the main event, not on top of the card, like they do at many
At that
wrestling.
time, if they would have built it properly,
And there was no build to that
it
match.
could have. I'm saying it could have been as big of a match as Andre Hogan.
Yeah, there was no real build to that match. What was the build to the match? Goldberg running in through the crowd, costing Lesnar his belt against Eddie
No way
Guerrero.
out.
Well,
Yeah,
it started
that
at the
was it.
Royal Rumble.
Oh, well, that's where it started. They bumped into each other backstage. But I mean, that was it. Goldberg, all he was suspended from WWE, and all he was filming movies. Nobody cared.
Next email comes from Ben, who says, when you had Dixie Carter on your show
Dixie the Cougar Carter.
a few weeks ago, she mentioned that she would like to have TNA do fewer pay-per-views than it's currently doing. She didn't necessarily say that on our show, but she has said statements similar to that. In your opinion, which TNA pay-per-views should be kept and which should be removed?
Lethal Lockdown.
Should be kept?
removed.
Really?
You don't need a whole show full of cage matches. And she's married. How can she be a cougar?
That doesn't make a difference.
So
Isn't
you're
a
saying-
cougar a car by Mercury?
So are you saying she cheats on her husband?
No, I didn't say that at all. Why are you trying to set me up?
I'm just asking the question.
What's the definition of cougar,
It's an older woman that chases younger men.
according to you?
That's what you've been calling her all this time?
No,
How
that's not what
disrespectful.
I've been calling
She's
her.
the president of TNA Wrestling, and you
It's
sit
an
there
older
insulting-
woman.
And she's in charge of his catering.
I don't eat catering. Just
You-
Damien eats catering.
I don't know.
Thank you for tuning in to today's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report.
Dixie, I'm
Express.
sorry. These guys set me up.
If you haven't done so already, make sure you check out last week's edition of PWR Primetime that we referenced before. Subscribe on iTunes so that you can get the shows dropped, both video and audio versions, to your iPod or iPhone as soon as they're available. And also be sure to tune in tomorrow night to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Ken Anderson returns along with AJ Styles and another special guest for the man they call Meathead and Dave Hero and the Cause. This is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in.